Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over all of the events and teams for the Legend of Seeker event, in which the Bound Mage is added to the game. So this week is pretty much Zhul'Kari week. This whole month is basically Zhul'Kari month, as we have a lot of things going on for Zhul'Kari. We have the Journey event going on. We have the Legends Reborn thing going on. We ended up having the Kingdom Pass. Of course, last week we got the rework for Zhul'Kari, so pretty much everything that could be happening for Zhul'Kari pretty much is over the course of this week as well as the month, but particularly this week as it is actually associated to Zhul'Kari as far as event key drop table and everything else. Well, let's start all the way from the top and go for the standard troop that ended up coming in. So this guy, ultra rare, so you can end up getting the blue, purple arcane for 300 each if you end up needing it. As far as the troop itself, it's unfortunately pretty underwhelming and converts all yellow gems to web gems, which of course is purple ones that end up applying web, and then summons a spider swarm. Overall, this is better converters. As you'll see, there's no empower here, so compared to any of the other empowers, particularly the one that's currently in the pass, it just isn't really that worth it to bother using this compared to other options that are already available, and for that reason it's pretty much never going to get used, which is somewhat unfortunate, but a lot of glory troops tend to go down that route. As far as the event key drop table, this is a very weird one, so do be careful before opening a huge ton of them. They are worth it this week. However, don't try hunting for something that doesn't exist in the drop table, as this is a very, very weird drop table as far as what is and isn't in the drop table. So let's see if I can get this right. Let's see, let's do this by base rarity, because there's a lot of things not in this drop table right now. So if you are opening event keys, first things first, why are you opening event keys? You're looking for Orbweaver, Arc Proxy, which just got buffed, or Web Spinner. Any combination of those three, or all of those three, are the main three drops that you are looking for. However, here is the very long list of everything not in the drop table. All four of the Eldrazhor troops, of course, the ones associated to the faction, the Tarot card, which is currently only from the Kingdom Pass, the Silken Queen, which is only from the Kingdom Pass, the Spider Throne, which is only from the Kingdom Pass. Let's see, what else? The Silken Fang, you guessed it, which is only from the Kingdom Pass. And I want to say one other, though I think that is everything. Yes, so only those. Every single one associated to the Kingdom Pass, as well as the four, of course, standard faction troops. But everything else that you see here is indeed available on drop table, and if there's any reason why you're opening drop tables, you're looking for like Giant Spider, Night Spider, which did get nerfed in the most recent patch, but it's still usable. It's just not as good of a loop as it was, but still pretty usable. Other than that, the other big drops, of course, are just the basically all the high rarity stuff. Web Spinner, Orbweaver, Arc Proxy, all three of them are insanely good. Web Spinner not only got a buff to 5 to all stats when it ended up getting that pets the other week, which is still available the rest of this week, so make sure to get that if you're interested in it, though you can get it into the future if you don't happen to get it. But basically, it has 5 to more, all the more stats. It's mostly used for triple damage to basically everything, since it applies web and does triple damage, and since traits work from top to bottom, it does apply the web before it does the triple damage, meaning everything not immune to web, it does triple damage to. It's among one of the hardest hitting skill options in the entire game as far as how convenient it is to get its condition, because as long as they're not immune to web and you're not stunned, well, you meet the condition every single time. And aside from that, Arc Proxy Evandra and Orbweaver are just some of the strongest mythics in the game. Orbweaver, for whatever reason, still only has a 20 mana cost while having one of the best trait setups in the entire game, having the very strong Stealthy Impervious combo while also having the best summon of any mythic, a 75% chance to summon a Web Spinner, which is this overpowered troop. So it's a strong troop that summons a different strong troop. And it's also among one of the better ways to web the entire enemy team, and has good synergy with like Life and Death Weaver, and pretty much any kind of true damage team where it can pick up some kills in order to get a huge amount of mana accumulation. That combined with its traits and its very low mana cost makes it among one of the strongest mythics to not die. You just plop it into 3rd slot, 4th slot, and it basically just lives forever. Arc Proxy Evandra recently got a buff. Instead of having 30 mana cost, it now has 26. It's greatly increased its viability, as a lot of times it wasn't able to get its second cast up as easily, just because you weren't getting as much mana into it. But now with the 4 lower mana costs, it's a lot easier to do. I'm not sure if it's better than Lord of Slaughter necessarily because of this, as I feel like he has a bit more flexibility, but it's definitely closer to his range. Before I would consider her always worse than Lord of Slaughter, but now it's kind of interchangeable depending on kind of what your team is trying to do, and she is still the premier Uber Doomskull creation option as far as Uber Doomskulls are concerned within the game, so if you're looking for that kind of mechanic, she is still the best, and even more so the best at doing such of a mechanic. having not only the Stormforge, but also a really good ability to end up doing it. So those are like the main three that you're looking for if you're doing event key drop table. And not only is it good reason to go for these for event key drop table, but the other reason why the event key drop table is really good right now is Zhul'Kari is one of the magic-based kingdoms. So of course, you end up getting magic when upgrading this kingdom. So if you want to end up reaching big milestones like 5-star, 10-star, 20-star, particularly 20-star, you can end up doing so, and you get an additional magic every single time. So if you get all the way to 20-star higher, you will have +3 additional magic that is permanent across every mode except for Arena. So a lot of stats to be gotten if you don't already have them. So great idea to stock up on opening up event keys. Did I already claim it this week? I'm not sure if I did. I did. But normally all the way to the left here, there is 10 event keys that you can get every single week. And if you haven't been already getting them, do make sure to do so. But you can end up getting 10 event keys for 180 glory each, 1,800 total. And it's normally all the way to the left of this resources screen. And it's a good idea to pick that up. And if you haven't been, definitely make sure to get it this week, as a great week to be opening up those event keys there. Anyways, next order of business, we have a journey event. This is an event that has only happened 4 total times. This is the 4th time as of this week right now. Journey event's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is take the bigger number. Right here, we see 40 miles, we see 25 miles, take the 40 miles. And you just keep doing this the entire time. Whatever the bigger number is, take the bigger number. And that's basically all you have to do. It's somewhat similar to Bounty Hunter, but not exactly like Bounty Hunter, in the sense that you're forced to have to use a troop, in this case, the Secra Darkwood. Basically, whatever the journey option is that you end up getting from the shop, you'll want to end up doing. There are basically 3 tiers that you'd want to do up into the shop. You either want to buy tier 3 and double blue orb her, tier 4 and single blue orb her, though make sure to ascend before you use the orbs, otherwise you'll waste an orb. Or tier 7 multiple times until you hit 20,000 points. There is an achievement in the game for hitting 20,000 total points during a journey event, and this is not splittable between multiple events, so you have to do the full 20,000 within a single event, which is why you see so many people kind of going to 20,000 and kind of stopping here. It's because there's an achievement for doing so, the whole leaderboard is going to be straight 20,000s by the end, probably a little bit higher. But 20,000 is pretty much your goal if you're looking to get that achievement at this particular time. Keep in mind that it's roughly around, I think it's around 2,300 to 2,800 or so gems in order to end up doing this. It is definitely pretty pricey, but if you have the gems laying around, potentially worth considering, as there's achievement tied to it. And you maybe might make leaderboard, depends. Though there's a lot of people also who will be trying to go for that achievement, so not sure on that necessarily, but that's pretty much the game plan. Tier 3, Tier 4, or buy Tier 7 until you have 20,000 points. Those are pretty much your 3 paths as far as getting everything, and it's also end up getting the weapon. Weapon's pretty underwhelming though. However, the troop itself is basically just Chalcedony, which is pretty interesting. I don't feel like it has as good of a synergy, because elves, oddly enough, while they do have synergy with each other, they don't have the same kind of synergies that constructs do. And a lot of the troops that are elves that would kind of benefit from this don't necessarily need to have this on the team. Like, for example, Life and Death Weaver. Like, you could end up having this, but I don't really think it's necessary on a team like that, particularly defensively. But oh no, maybe it'll end up ultimately replacing out the Empower option. But it does have a little bit more wind up to have to do compared to just setting an Empower there and being on your way. Maybe as like a last slot option, but then it's like mana blocked by a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be kind of clunky to use with elves, mostly because green-purple is used by a lot of elves in the game. And it has overlap for it, but it has the benefits of, creating a billion purple. It has the exact same boost ratio as Chalcedony, ultimately getting 15 purple spam every single time, assuming your entire team is currently elves. So a lot of mana to be accumulated here. Damage same as Chalcedony as well, and basically almost everything about it's pretty similar, even as that skull dodge. So which is actually pretty noteworthy, because more often than not you are using this in like your first slot, your second slot, so it's going to be pretty far up in your team, so this will allow it to survive a little bit longer. And of course, when fully ascended, it will give you the maximum amount of points, or the maximum amount of miles that you can be earning while doing the journey event. But overall, it's basically just get enough to ascend her to Mythic, take whatever the higher value is, and just do that the entire time. We are restricted to an elf into purple, though there are a lot of options that we have for this. Most notably, we have things like Arachnine Weaver, which is probably going to be one of the premier ones as far as using. Obviously, you have to use Secra in every single team, which is perfect because you're going to be full boost ratioing off her anyways. You could potentially end up multi-stacking her as well. Keep in mind, you do not get additional miles for stacking her. However, you can stack her ability, of course, and, have a bunch more mana accumulation that way. I don't really feel like you need to do that. One's perfectly fine. And you just kind of put a bunch of damage sources behind it, like a Black Manacle, Weaver, pretty much whatever you want to run. They have access to, and just kill it out that way. Next up, we have ourselves, what do we have here? We have ourselves 2 events that are still going on. So, of course, one of the reasons why this is Kingdom Week, or Zhul'Kari Week, Zhul'Kari Month, is we do still have the Kingdom Pass going on. This will be going for the entirety of this month, as well as slightly going into next month. This is all around. Make sure to be getting 10 crowns per day. You can just simply do this by quick killing and explore, get it done in under 10 minutes or so. Even if you're just doing it for the free side, there's still a lot of good loot, like a weapon and a few other knickknacks here and there. You also get at least one copy of everything except the legend. The only thing that you don't get on the free side is, as far as getting at least one copy of, is you don't end up getting this book, which is kind of underwhelming anyways, as well, though it is the strongest weapon here, but it's still an overall underwhelming option. And the other thing that you don't end up getting is one copy of the Silken Queen, but as per usual, all these will be available into the future, so you don't need to worry about it. You can just get it like a couple months back. Whenever there's like another Zhul'Kari event, you'll easily be able to get those into the future. Though to keep in mind, any Zhul'Kari event that happens during the duration of this Kingdom Pass does not include anything from the Kingdom Pass. So if we happen to have another event, I don't think we do, but if we happen to have like another event of this in a couple weeks, that Zhul'Kari event will not have anything that's in this drop table, similar to how it's not currently in the drop table as we were mentioning earlier when we were going over the event keys. But yeah, this is all around, so make sure to keep making progress on that if you're interested in those rewards, or you can simply get it on the next Zhul'Kari event that happens when this event is not happening. Aside from that, of course, we still have Legends Reborn going on for Zhul'Kari. Was started last week and, still continuing. Most noteworthy thing here is the gem-locked one. This ends up giving 5 to all stats to Web Spinner. Of course, there is the money one if you want to end up getting it, though this will be available in the future about 6 weeks after the fact. Though, of course, trying to get it in the random drop table of pets might take forever. However, Arc Proxy Evandra is pretty decent. Especially with the buff that she ended up getting, so even more viable with 5 to all stats. But I would say the main priority is, just get the free ones. The 2 main free ones you get are for doing all these battles. You do 5 sets of 25 battles, and you end up getting one that boosts up Tyree. Unfortunately, that bonus is pretty bad. And the other one that you can end up getting is for Spider Queen, which unfortunately is also a pretty bad bonus. Generally, if you give a bad troop, a little bit extra stats, it's not going to make it good. There are some rare circumstances to where that could end up being the case, but unfortunately these 2 are not for good ones, and of course the ones that are gem-locked, money-locked, are the ones that are actually good, but of course, similar to all pets, you'll be able to get these in the future, so don't worry too much if you don't end up picking them up, as you'll slowly be able to earn them over time, going forward after the event ends, several weeks after the fact. Anyways, so that's all the events that are all Zhul'Kari based. Let's start getting into all the other things we have going on. So today, of course, since we are covering this a day later, we do have the Zhul'Kari event wrapping up. If you haven't already done this, of course, this event's still going on. Green, purple restriction. Of course, what is it associated to? Zhul'Kari, as this is pretty much everything going on these days. But yeah, it's just a Zhul'Kari faction event, so you can end up getting some progress on that, getting the orbs, all that good stuff. Wednesday, we have the Pet of Lucky. This is the XP pet, among one of the better pets in the entire game. Unfortunately, it's only a 5% bonus, and it's been around for a while. However, if you haven't already gotten it maxed, it's a great time to get a few more copies of it. Thursday, we have the Orbweaver hero class. Orbweaver is generally used defensively, not offensively. It's commonly used on Guild War defend teams, particularly with Life and Death Weaver, however, as well as in, 4x Elf teams, which 4x Elf teams might be a little bit more popular now that we have basically Chalcedony for Elves. So Orbweaver's viability has definitely gone up due to the addition of the new troop that we ended up getting through the Journey event. So interesting to see exactly how that will pan out as far as in usage. It's a pretty decent hero class, has a giant spider summon when it gets hit. It actually got nerfed once, twice. It used to be 50%. Now it's all the way down to, I believe, 35% chance every single time. So basically a 1 in 3, slightly higher than 1 in 3, though it feels like a 1 in 10 sometimes. But whenever you get hit, it does end up having a proc for that. And even a 1 damage hit counts. So if you happen to be poisoned, burned, bled, something like that, every single time you take damage from that will count as a potential 35% summon to end up getting your giant spider, assuming you have at least 1 empty spot on your team. And this Friday, unfortunately, we have a useless arena event. Nothing special happening with that. Pretty skippable. You could do it like once for a few gem keys, but overall, it's a pretty underwhelming event that doesn't really give too much. And the main thing that you can end up getting from it, like the 3 arenas per day, is something that you could be doing at any point, even right now, if you so choose. So not much value in the event, but it is the event that's happening this weekend. Anyways, aside from that, as far as Soulforge is concerned, Mythics are kind of average, nothing like too over the top. I've been using Piskia a little bit more lately, so still not a huge fan of it. Vernalis, I think this is the second time it's ever been around. It's an interesting buff troop. I personally don't care for it too much compared to using like Arc Proxy Evandra, or sorry, not Arc Proxy Evandra. What's that one? That one that gives like every single stat except magic and then full mana. Why do I always forget his name? But I personally prefer that over using Vernalis, just because of its full mana capabilities. Makes it pretty good when buffing up other mythics, particularly ones that are really skull heavy. If you were to consider any one thing right now, I would probably say Tesla. Tesla, if you are a newer player or at any state right now, where you have 0 copies of Tesla, it is definitely worth considering getting 1 or 2 of her. She's absolutely insane through running through the entire game, and if you're picking this up as a newer player, you're pretty much set forever. You do eventually switch over to other teams, however, there's pretty much no piece of content where she's allowed to be used that she isn't viable for. She could take out high-level PvP, she could take out pets all the way up, she could take out Explore 12, she could take out a level 500 factions. There isn't anything she cannot kill. The main reason you don't really see me using it too often is there are quicker options out there, but if you're looking for a relatively low rarity, she's not a mythic, only a legendary, she's among one of the better low rarity options, or at least non-mythic options, for dealing a very high amount of scaling damage that scales throughout the entire game. So worth considering, and we'll be showing a team for her in a moment. One we've shown a couple times already, but definitely worth considering if you're messing around with Tesla. As far as Soulforge is mostly for completionist sake, mostly if you're trying to get to 20 star or any other star level, just pick up enough weapons to make sure you can end up doing so. But for the most part, nothing really like noteworthy of use, just kind of utility weapons that you might use occasionally if you want to pick up like Book of Brambles or something similar. This definitely does have like slightly more viability now that we 4x elf teams might be a little bit more used. Ends up creating a bunch of green and purple. Fortunately, does not feed back into itself, but does have that 4x elf synergy that might go slightly higher in popularity. So if you are going to pick up something that's maybe something worth considering, but aside from like the mana accumulating ones, nothing really too special here. Just like this standard, just variety of kind of trash weapons that you kind of just pick up if you just want to have it, just for the sake of owning them, or if you just really want the utility ones in case you feel like you might end up using it into the future. Anyways, aside from that, I think we are good to go to start going into teams. So, as far as all of the teams are concerned, that's not where I want to go. So, as far as all the teams are concerned, let's start all the way from the top. So, for the journey event, for the high rarity, you can end up going Secra and literally just spam Weavers. In this case, I actually went down the Archmagus route. Of course, you might want to go down the Elf route and have something like Orbweaver, so you count as an Elf for extra gem spawn. Main reason I did Archmagus is Archmagus, of course, has +3 purple, +2 from trait, and +1 from its level 70 perk. So in total, it gets +3 purple every single time you end up taking a purple from the board, which in combination with Banner can be up to 4 or 5. In this case, 4, because it went for double green, just so in case there's not purple on the board, it'll still have an easy way to end up reaching full mana. And it's pretty much the whole premise. You end up getting Secra up, you cast Secra, you go crazy with Weaver, you then win. And that's pretty much the entire strategy here. Next, we have a mid-level journey event that doesn't use multiple of the same mythic. In this case, we're using Life and Death combination and kind of doing it down that route. And for the low rarity one, we end up going for more of an AoE route, kind of similar to how we were going to be running the Thursday class event, though slightly different, where we're basically just using Secra into Black Mana Goal as our main premise. Keep in mind, if you do have multiple Secra, you could potentially go down that route, but it's not necessarily necessary. And just going for the tiers, like tier 3, tier 4, to spend the minimal amounts to end up just progressing towards the event might be your best option. So for the faction, we have a green-purple restriction. For this first one, we end up just going a pretty standard Thrall Leprechaun, which is a bunch of Rowains in the middle, just to end up absorbing the mana, and then you can either single cast, double cast, kill them out. Next, we have a little bit of a scaling one, using Essence of Evil to disable anything that might be too big of a threat, and then using Zhul'Kari to kill out the rest of the team, using a slightly tanky hero class just to make sure we don't die, and of course, Thrall Leprechaun, as it's a really great mana accumulation combo. And for the pure faction, a couple different ways you could run this, though the main strategy is go double Deep Huntsman, kill your first Deep Huntsman, and then your team is now Tome Spider, Deep Huntsman, and double Matron. The Tome Spider actually ended up getting buffed last week when they ended up doing the Zhul'Kari rework. It inflicts a web, Hunter's Mark, and Death Mark at 100% accuracy. I believe before it was if there was like 13 plus of a gem or something similar, and then deal some damage to them. And that's basically its entire premise. It also has that Spider Silk thing. So his whole premise is it gets that ability down, it gets that guaranteed Death Mark and everything, and you just kind of do some skull damage pressure. It also allows you to cover one whole additional color, and is basically going to be your tank, even though it's not really tanky, but you know, the main thing that does skull pressure on your team, just for a little bit more damage. And then the rest is just basically casting Matron until you end up killing out the entire enemy team. You could theoretically even go triple Matron into Deep Huntsman, though ultimately your team by the end will end up starting as double Deep Huntsman into double Matron, and end as Tome Spider, Deep Huntsman, Matron, and double Matron Valine. And that's pretty much your team. Make sure not to start as Tome Spider, as that will not count as pure faction, but you're allowed to end with it being this team, and you'll still get the full amount of points. And that's pretty much the whole strategy. Kill out your first Deep Huntsman, get a bunch of mana off of this, and you're mostly just Matron spamming, and if you're ever taking skulls, you're using the Tome Spider's capabilities to end up getting slightly higher skull pressure. And this is also a troop that the first and final battle technically won't have. They will, of course, off the fact that, you know, they end up getting it off the 100% summon. However, you can end up just going and having it initially, so that you'll be able to use it from the start, whereas they won't be able to use it until the troop specifically dies, which allows you to get some time to actually kill out the rest of your team using single targets, and potentially even save their Deep Sentiments for last, so you don't have to deal with the enemy Tome Spider. Anyways, next we have Orbweaver event. This will be happening on a Thursday. Pretty much a standard Black Manacle team. We're just using Seeker as support and have a bunch of Shadow Blades behind it. In this case, we actually are going down the Orbweaver route, though you could, of course, still go down Archmages if you so choose, though you will have less gem spawn on your Seeker in that particular situation. And as I mentioned, we, of course, have the good old Teslas, which is Urskia Shield, Double Tesla, into Holy Stain Astra. This is one of the best ways to pretty much end up utilizing Tesla. You get a half mana star off of Holy Stain Astra. If you happen to not have this, you could put Leprechaun or some other mana accumulator that you so choose. But Holy Stain Astra is normally used for the half mana star to get the Teslas rolling a little bit quicker. You take some mana from the board, you end up getting that up. You can end up throwing Urskia Shield to keep them safe, as well as gaining a bunch more armor as you boost ratios from all the armor in play. And you just go for one big burst of damage and just keep casting Teslas until you end up winning. And that's pretty much the premise. And if you don't have double Tesla, you can just end up putting a Thrall there, which could end up being a lot of mana accumulation. You could put a Leprechaun in the last slot, and you're pretty much just good to go. Or Scale Shield into Tesla, cast it out, and you just do a bunch of damage. So, and it scales throughout the entire game, because not only does it boost based on your armor, but it also boosts based on all enemy armor. But anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. By the time this video comes out, we will probably be in version 6.75. We are getting a mini patch later tonight. And by later tonight, I mean pretty much as soon as this video goes up. By the time we stream in a couple hours, we'll probably already be in the patch. So I'm not sure anything big's happening with it. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty minor patch. It's probably just getting rid of all the holiday stuff. We'll also maybe prepping like next week's event, as we do have a holiday event going on next week, oddly enough, which is the one for Lunar New Year. I believe it's the year of the bunny, I want to say. I think it was the year of the bunny. So we're going to be having that starting up next week for the next 2 weeks. So that might be prepping that. I'm not sure anything else that it might be doing. Is it going to be a pretty mini patch? But I don't know. Maybe we'll have something big in it that we're not aware of. Though don't expect much from it. That's for sure. But that should be happening within the next few hours or so. So yeah, very soon, TM. Anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. All the teams mentioned will also be in the comment section below and in the description if you want to go and copy paste any of them to use throughout the week. I'll catch you guys later. Have a wonderful week, and goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.